I hope that you are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today, where we are going to talk about the book Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. And this book is YA fantasy, and it is the second book of the Legendborn series. If you remember, the first book in this series, Legendborn, was one of my favorite books of 2021 because I loved the mixing of the Arthurian legend with African American spiritual practices, and the fact that the story ties the character's magic to her ancestors and their experiences. In this, the second book, one of Bree's friends, who was kidnapped by a family member, is missing. Bree and her other friends want to go in search of this friend. The regents, those who control the order, are unwilling to let them. They are unsure of Bree's abilities and question her power because it is so different than their own. And Bree is struggling to gain control over her newly discovered powers, struggling with feelings that leave her confused, and struggling to come to terms with her grief. But the time has come for Bree to bring together both parts of her past and try not to lose herself in the process. I love this series because it makes us take a look at history with our eyes wide open, looking at events that should have been examined ages ago. I love the strength of the characters and the growth that they each experience in every book of the series. So what are some other books to read for a similar experience? Today we will look at 4 books, each with a different way that they are similar to Bloodmarked. First, a book that is an adaptation of the King Arthur story. Next, a book that is an extension of the Arthurian legend. Then a book that involves African American spiritual practices and magic. Then a book that shows the cracks in the criminal justice system and the effect those cracks have on those who must live with them. Cursed by Thomas Wheeler with illustrations by Frank Miller. Nemu is an outcast, and her connection to dark magic causes those in her druid village to fear her. After an attack on her village leaves that village in ruins, her fate is forever altered. As her mother is dying, she instructs Nemu to bring a specific sword to a legendary sorcerer. Nemu is the only hope. She teams up with the mercenary, Arthur, and some fae folk. Her mission keeps her busy, and she has little time for revenge. But the power growing within her leaves her thinking of nothing else. Oversea Under Stone and the other books of the Dark is Rising series by Susan Cooper. This is YA fantasy that extends the Arthurian legend, and it's a series of 5 books, which Tracy Deonn, the author of the Legendborn series, cites as inspiration for the direction she took in extending the Arthurian legend in her series. The first book introduces us to Simon, Jane, and Barney Drew. While on holiday, they find an old map that sends them off on a journey. This journey gets them tangled up in a battle between light and dark, the forces of good and evil. They soon find themselves in danger, as familiar people are revealed to be dangerous. They discover that their odd great-uncle, Mary, is more than he seems, as he is able to help guide them along the way. This first book reads younger than the other 4 in the series, and focuses on characters that weave in and out of the stories in the series. As the series continues, we meet Will Stanton, who learns that he is one of an ancient magical people destined to wield the powers of light. Our next book includes spiritual practices and magic, and it is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. Sunny was born in New York and lives in Nigeria, and she feels a little lost. She is albino and sensitive to the sun, but she wants to play football, and she wants to make it through the day without being bullied. When she meets Orlu and Chi-Chi, she is thrown into the world of the leopard people, a world of magic where your worst defects become your greatest asset. Sunny, Orlu, Chi-Chi, and Sasha embark on a mission to track down the man responsible for harming children. Will they be able to track down this killer whose powers are greater than their own? This is the first in the series, which also includes Akata Warrior and Akata Woman. And our final book, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Star Carter lives in two worlds. Her poor neighborhood and the fancy suburban prep school she attends, because both her parents want her to have a good foundation in life. Finding the balance between these two worlds can be complicated. And it's about to get a lot more complicated when Star is the only witness to the murder of her childhood best friend, Khalil. Khalil's death becomes national news, and everyone is taking sides. Her friends from school don't understand what it's like to live where Star lives, and one of them doesn't seem to want to understand. Her friends from her neighborhood cannot understand why Star wants to be friends with the girls from school. But being the only witness to Khalil's death means that Star must decide whether to speak up about what happened or stay silent, knowing that what she says could harm her community or herself. Given the topic, there are definite trigger warnings for this book, including racism, implied domestic abuse, and childhood trauma. So check those out before you read it. But I will say it's well worth the read. And there we are. I hope that you enjoyed this look at Bloodmarked, our first book for December, and other books to read for a similar experience. We'll be back in about a week when we'll take a look at The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I hope that you will join me then. And until then, I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.